Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in again to the next episode in the series. We talked about committing and pushing in the last episode, and today, or in this episode, we're going to go ahead and talk about branching, another super popular, hopefully obvious, need for any project of any size, really. So for at this moment in time, we've really been dealing with our master branch, and as the name kind of depicts, you don't get to choose that one, and you don't get to delete that branch, and you don't, it has like some kind of special privileges at times and stuff like that. So you don't really have the ability to do much about that. And I'm sure you've heard the master branch phrase before at some point. But the reason that it gets that name is because you can create other branches that you can then modify and merge into this master branch. And then, this is basically the snapshot of your code at any given moment that should be, in a working state, in a clean state. It shouldn't be kind of like broken and stuff like that. So you can see here in the GitHub UI, when you're looking at a particular repository, it'll tell you how many branches you have there, and then you can kind of take a little deeper look at what branches are available or what tags, and we'll get to that in a later video. But right now we only have our master branch, so let's go ahead and change that. So if we click on this little branch thing down here, we can very easily just say new branch, and let's just say, oh man, we're going to name it Soccer Tile 2 Enhancements, and I spelled that wrong, didn't I? Enhancements. So, the name of the branch isn't necessarily like super um, relevant, because eventually this branch will be removed, but it is helpful to just name the branch something that you're like working on, or maybe it's a particular bug fix, or maybe it's a new feature or something along those lines, just because it'll help you keep sanity. It'll also help if other people need to pick up where you left off and work in your branch. They'll be able to see, oh, okay, this branch is named XYZ feature. That means that it's dealing with XYZ feature. And so you can kind of just help people out, right? It's just good practices, and even help yourself out with, good naming convention for variables and stuff like that. Just look at the branch name as another one of those variables. So we're going to go ahead and create this. It'll tell you that you checked out a new branch from head. And at this point, nothing in the code has changed. And you can see here that this little tag, you're on that particular branch. And then there's also another one here, master, that you can click. And then there's a bunch of things you can do here. So you can, if you check out, you basically go back to this branch. If you click merge into current, it's going to do exactly that, and it's going to merge that branch into your branch. You could push, update, rename, delete, all this kind of good stuff. So there's a whole lot of, I guess, functionality within each branch, whereas before we were kind of just like basically focusing on one path and one path only. But now we've basically, jumped off of that path onto a parallel path, and now we can make our modifications here. So if let's take these three things, let's make this a data class, let's do this, and boom. So let's say now we commit this, Command K, tell you again what branch you're on, and so we'll say added, new fields to soccer tile for display, or something along those lines, right? And so we're going to go ahead and commit this. Everything's all good. We've committed this file. It's no longer blue. We're looking good. But now we want to go back to master for some reason, so we can go ahead and click checkout. And now we've checked out master, and this basically, as it tells you here, has been restored back to what the version of the code base at the master branch. So if we go over to soccer tile 2, this is completely empty, right, as it was originally. These changes only exist in a different branch that we have, committed onto, this particular branch here. And also, if you'll notice, even within the IDE, all of these files are open, Whereas if we go back to this other branch, again, we check out the branch, Soccer Tile 2 is completely updated. All these other files are not there. We've closed all of those. We only are working in these three. So basically the different branches are, different snapshots of your code, and even inside Android Studio, it's different snapshots of your your setup, right? As in like these files are closed, or this file is split down here, and then the other ones are not like that. It'll kind of remember these different states, not only about the actual code and the differences between those classes and things being added or removed or deleted, but also the setup of your IDE and everything along those lines. So pretty interesting stuff. There's really a lot that it can kind of maintain for you, and it happens so seamlessly. It really does. It kind of is just like very easy to just switch between branches, create new branches, branch off of branches, merge branch. I mean, everything. It all just kind of comes together cohesively inside Android Studio. So I'll absolutely tip my hat to everyone involved in that, because managing this command line is most definitely doable, but it's a lot scarier when you're first starting, for sure, than it is to have all of this Git integration in the IDE. It truly is wonderful. So definitely take advantage of that. And so again, if we take a look at our Git log here at this point, we have this little filter here set to branch all. And so that's why we're kind of getting every single one of these views here, or all those commits, actually, but it makes more sense if you see it from here, right? So we're on the master branch, but we're seeing commits for a different branch. And that's, again, because we have this branch set to all. But if we were to, take a look at a specific branch, well, it's going to look like that as well. But if we take a look at maybe just master, okay, this is the state of this branch only. And then, if we select all, we'll see, okay, there's a whole other branch that's over here and stuff like that. So go back to this, this guy here. We can actually deal with merging in these changes. So it's a pretty common thing to, build out a new feature, build a new screen, maybe refactor something to a new way or a better way or something. Do that in a separate branch, make sure that that branch works and then the app functions, and then you can actually merge things in to the other branch. So if we were to very quickly click on our master branch and say compare with current, okay, yeah, sorry. So this here says commits in master that don't exist in the soccer tile branch, and that doesn't make sense, because if you were to imagine master at position 1, this second branch that we have is at position 2. So it's basically ahead of master at this point because we've made these changes here. So there are going to be no commits that exist in master that we don't have in this. But if we swap that around, we'll actually see very quickly that these are the commits that this branch has that master doesn't. So you can actually see the differences between the two. And then if you Command D again, it'll open up a little window to show you the differences, saying that on the left is the old way and on the right is the new version of things, and it'll show you the differences and stuff like that. So it's always good practice when you're trying to merge a branch into another, whether it's the master branch or not. It's always a good idea to actually click on the branch you want to merge into and say merge into current. And the reason that we're going to want to do that is because we're going to want to pick up any changes that happened in the other branch that you're merging this branch into first, because there are things called merge conflicts, which we're not going to talk about too deeply right now, but basically there's issues where it's like, the system can't merge things together seamlessly, on your behalf, so you need to kind of intervene and say, okay, we want these changes from here and not these changes, and then this, and so if you were to run into those merge conflicts, you'd want to resolve them on this branch, the like secondary branch that you're going to then, once you solve all those conflicts, you'll then have a very smooth time just merging this branch into the original. So I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense. It's kind of difficult for me to explain that with you just hearing my voice and staring at a blank screen, but hopefully it does make sense. And if not, definitely ask about it. We can dive further into it. So once we have resolved our conflicts, everything's up to date, you're going to return back to, in this case, the master branch. We're going to check this out. We'll stay on soccer tile 2 so we can show you. But then as we select our other branch that we want to merge into it, we can click on it and then say merge into current. And then at this point, when we click that, it will merge everything into from that other branch into this branch, and it'll give you a little balloon here that says, okay, now that you've basically merged that in, you can click this and it'll delete that branch. I'm just going to click away so the balloon goes away, but because we'll do that in a second. But now you can see that soccer tile 2 has been updated from our old branch. And now also if now in master here, you can see that master and soccer tile 2 are sitting at this like location in our in time, if you will, right? So we've basically merged that commit, this commit right here, into the master branch without actually doing that work on the master branch, if that makes sense. So hopefully you can see why if you branch off, you delete 10 files, you add 40 new ones, you add a few more libraries, you update the app, and you merge back into master. Master will be all caught up and kind of ready to go. And the benefit of branching in general is so that you don't find yourself in the middle of working on something like, oh my God, we need to, we need this version working right now. We need the master branch working right now, right? If you had a feature that took you 10 commits to complete and you were on commit 6 and now the app is in like a broken state because it doesn't work because it's not fully converted to the new way of doing things, and you did that in master and they were like, okay, great, we need to deploy this right now, you'd be sunk. You wouldn't be able to do that because the app's now in a broken state. But if you were to do all that work in a separate branch, and they're like, hey, we need to deploy master again, you can very easily save your work on that branch, transfer back to master, which has been untouched at this point, and then build from there, and that will be like a stable build. That you don't have to worry about. So definitely, even if you're doing something, well, if you're doing something as simple as that, maybe not, but if you're doing something that's basically like a long-winded, feature exercise or something that's going to take you longer than, 1 or 2 commits, I would seriously suggest putting it in a separate branch so that you can just manage it, on your own, and so that you don't have to worry about that, issue of things kind of, falling apart while you're in the middle of something. So if you're going to use version control, you might as well use it to the fullest, and you might as well do it the right way and get the most out of it. So as I said, we weren't going to delete it from that little balloon that popped up, but instead, if you actually click on this little branch window, you can click on a particular branch and then you can click delete, and then it's gone. You could restore it if you want. There's actually other command line ways to restore things if you really delete them and like you need to restore it from like a week ago or something like that. Like you can do that, but for this example and just like the simplicity of it, branching off, making changes, merging those changes back in, deleting your branch, now you're basically at a particular like a positive like workflow, if you will. And so I guess it's important to note that if you try to commit changes after you merge, there's going to be nothing to commit because everything was committed on your previous branch, and so basically your work was saved there and they're kind of just copying your work over to here. However, the remote knows nothing about these changes that you've done on your local branch. So if you command Shift K to get to this window, you can actually push it. It'll go ahead and do its thing. It'll tell you that it pushed. Then you can go ahead and refresh, and then you can see here added new fields for soccer tile 2. And then we can say go to files, a way to like search your entire repository. So if we do soccer tile 2 and click on it, now you can see those changes were picked up here. And then if we were to go back to just back one layer, you'll see that none of them other than this thing that was changed, has this new commit message. Everything else was from the first commit. So yeah, I mean, that's the basics of branching. You're able to basically look at this point in time, jump off of that point, and then proceed in your own little sandbox. And then when you're ready to kind of jump back into line, into master, you can do that. So you don't have to you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about things blowing up in your face that you actually need them, and they're not in a stable state. The last thing that I will say is you can actually push branches remotely. So let's just say sample. I'm just going to call it second branch. Again, probably shouldn't do this, but and then we're just going to say image URL is a string. Go ahead and commit it and say added image URL to SoccerTile 2. And then if we click this one and say commit and push, this will actually go ahead, create a new branch on remote and push the changes there. So you can see here the, well, this is a little different, but you can see that there's two branches here. You click this little drop down, there's two branches, and then if you were to actually click on a different branch, you can see now the differences. So actually the differences are gonna again exist in our SoccerTile 2 file, but we're on our second branch in SoccerTile 2, and you can see the image URL field is here. And if we go to master on SoccerTile 2, you can see that it's not there. So when you actually push the or any branch, it then makes a copy of that branch in your repository up here in GitHub, and will track the changes there for you as well. So it just so happens that the master branch is the primary branch and is created always for you, so you didn't really see that happen, but here you can actually see a secondary branch being created. And so I guess this is a pretty good segue. In the next episode, we'll go ahead and talk about pull requests and code reviews, and we'll kind of dive into the importance of that and the power of that, and might not be super relevant when you're working on a project by yourself, but definitely a good thing to know about, and definitely a very good thing to know about for trying to get a job in any kind of software development position. Branching off of master, modifying the code, pushing that up to the repository, creating a pull request to get it into master, all that kind of stuff is just across any development role, no matter if you're front end, back end, client side, it doesn't matter. It's relevant to everyone. So definitely good stuff to know about, regardless of what kind of position you want to fill. So I'll see you there.